For 5,000 years, and probably for thousands more years before that, a continuous unbroken thread of spiritual thought has been running through all human culture. Beginning in oral tradition, poems, stories, songs and ritualistic practices have been passed down across the generations, teaching and reteaching, discovering and refining the lessons that need to be learned in order for us to live the best possible way. Wellness is defined by the World Health Organization as a state of complete physical, mental and social well-being. But living a full and successful life is not just about the happiness and health of the individual, it's about how our own well-being is connected and constrained by everything around us: our family, our culture, our environment, our society, our world. Ancient cultures understood the importance of living according to carefully determined laws and aligning themselves with the patterns they saw in the outworking of the world around them. They knew that when human beings take a deliberate and systematic approach to their daily living, they not only see benefits in their own physical, mental and emotional health, but in the well-being of everything that they are connected to. By the trial and error of many generations and the collaboration, critical reflection and deep insight of the most wise and learned figures of our collective ancestry, the most enduring and engaging elements of human culture have driven us to not only survive on this planet, but thrive as an impactful and creative global force. Around 2,000 years ago, one man sought to collect the accumulated spiritual wisdom of the oral traditions into a series of written texts. Krishna Dvapayana, the son of an Indian sage, broke this knowledge down in a series of books known as the Vedas. These books, written in Sanskrit, contain incantations known as mantras, sayings, stories, directions for rituals, descriptions of how the universe is arranged and humanity's place in the order of things. Veda means knowledge, and Krishna Dvapayana is known as Veda Vyasa, the one who breaks down the knowledge. Along with the Vedas, other texts written by Veda Vyasa describe diet and exercise interventions, focused on stretching, balancing and moving between certain positions, meditation and repetition of mantras, eating according to your constitution, and breath control. These practices form part of the religious and cultural identity of the East. The Vedas are the core texts of the Hindu religion and heavily influence other Eastern religions such as Sikhism and Buddhism. While these traditions were developing in the East, the Western world was in the process of building its own cultural identity. Northern European history is actually very much intertwined with the history of the East. Nothing happens completely independently of the rest of the world, as everything is ultimately connected to everything else. But the idea of the Western world as a distinct cultural place is less a fact of historical events and more a narrative that pulls together a few selected events in the history of the development of European culture to build a cohesive vision of the world that still holds today. The West is not a place exactly, but a story and an identity. And as with any story, some parts get left in and some parts get left out. You can't write a story about every side character and subplot. We focus on the most important parts of the narrative. There is a continuous thread that ties our history together and builds upon itself across the generations, just like the traditions of the East.